Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Esoteric Atlanta. Of course, my name is Brice, and I'm here with a new friend, Sarah, who I'm going to show you guys her channel and a website in a minute. But Sarah is super cool. We've been just chit-chatting, as I tend to do when I record. I always have social hour before. I'm always like, oh yeah, we gotta actually hit the record button. So Sarah is up in Canada and she is doing the shadow work challenge, and she's also a very talented tea leaf reader, which I'm super excited, and a psychic medium. I'm super excited about. But before we get into the subject matter at hand, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and show you. We have Sarah's website here. I will put all of this stuff down in the description box below. We have Sarah's website here that offer all of her services, and she also has a YouTube channel. I was about to say a shadow work challenge channel, but a YouTube channel.
It kind of is. kind of is.
I mean, most spirituality really is. I mean, you don't get into the light and love until you get to the end of the work, right? So
you have to dive deep all the time. Work never ends. You do it daily.
Never ends. If you have a body, you still got work to do. So guys, I actually went and watched some of Sarah's videos because I'm so fascinated. As you guys know, I'm super fascinated by divination. I am very familiar with tarot and the I Ching. I love astrology, but I have heard tea leaf reading, of course, before, but I've never had it done. But I've been watching your videos. It's super fascinating. And so guys, please go ahead and subscribe to Sarah's YouTube channel, again, down in the description box below. And again, her website is there, which you also have a click to her website here if you want to look at her services. I looked at some of your services, and you're very reasonably priced, Sarah, for your services. Like, I was shocked. I mean, wow.
Yeah. We moved, like I said, we moved up here to a different location in Ontario a couple of years ago. So my price is a little bit more reduced to be a bit more accessible to people. So that's why.
That's amazing. It's always an exchange of energy. As a yoga teacher, I know that as well. But, and I told this, I said this to Stephanie too, like, I know for us in yoga, we're always willing to work with people if they're struggling, because we want to help. And I will say, I got to talk to Sarah's mom beforehand. Coolest lady ever. So
Mom Heather.
Yeah, Mom Heather, you Canadians, you got some diamonds up there. I was saying, I feel sorry for Canadians because you guys are really getting hit hard, and us Americans, we understand and we support you. We're all the patriots. That's the coolest thing about this time, though, Sarah. I keep saying this. The globalists, they had one idea as to what they wanted to do, connecting us as a one world government, whereas we've kind of all connected ourselves. But we stand proud of our own countries, but also proud of each other's countries too. It makes me emotional when I think about it. Americans are supporting Canadians. Canadians are supporting Americans. The Australians are supporting the French. The French are supporting the Australians. We're all, you're not your government. You are not. No. You're not. None of us are our governments. That's the problem, right? We realize it's never been about the citizens.
Never.
And my experiencing traveling the world, I've been lucky to be able to travel the world, is human beings are human beings. Most people are very lovely, and they welcome you into their home with open arms.
100%.
It's the government. It's the fucking government.
I know. Just because someone is in the office doesn't mean that the people actually necessarily, cast a little sticky piece of paper for that individual. In my experience, we certainly did not happen. That did not happen with the current individual who shall remain unnamed.
Yeah, the turd. We'll call him the turd of Canada.
The turd. They can call him that. I call him that. It's fine.
Yeah, Castro's son. Yeah. Well, the same with Mr. B. I mean, Mr. B, obviously. I think that was the biggest shock for the whole world. I mean, I had people messaging me from all over the world going, what the hell happened? And I'm like, I don't know. Because if you were here in the United States, you still see, you drive around the United States, you still see Mr. T flags everywhere. I mean, it was the opposite. Mr. T actually won in a landslide.
Absolutely. I mean, for those of us who are awake and aware, I think at least I can speak for myself and the people that I know up here in Canada. We just shook our head. We're like, seriously? Okay. Like, again, for those of us who are awake and aware, we saw what was happening. There's a greater plan in place. There's something happening behind the scenes, obviously, but you just shake your head. I mean, I don't know what else to say. It's just.
I've been very curious too, because I know most Americans, and I have to say, I said this right when it happened. I think I put it on my Instagram or something, but during the counting of, we'll just say of the competition, because that's how monitored we are, because they don't want the truth out. During the competition, the major competition of that
event.
Yes, there we go, the event.
It's have to talk to goat.
Right. There are members from each team that count. And some of the members from the blue team, the Ds, actually would get on their iPhones and were saying, you guys, they were saying like, they're cheating. My team is cheating. And I have so much respect for the people on the blue team that had the guts to say this isn't right. Because I think most people realize on a visceral level that if they'll do it with you, they'll do it to you. That regardless of what athlete is in the race, bless someone's heart if they're new to my channel. They're like, what the hell are these two?
And it's like, I'm just going, I'm getting everything that you're saying, all the coded words. I get it. I'm like,
viewers get it.
Other than
the road race, the athletes, to realize that there's something very dirty and underhanded happening, and to call it out anyway, even though your team isn't gonna, is the one. It took a lot of guts. And so for the people on the blue team that actually were saying something, I have total respect for you for speaking up, because that took a lot of guts.
They obviously went in and I didn't know what was going on. Then when they did, they obviously were trying to course correct and say like they're calling it out. So obviously they're being highly ethical. I mean, I can't say that for here because I didn't know any stories specifically, but we had 2 recent elections in the past couple of years up here. The first one, that's when the whole, I get to say this online for the first time, this was in place. Anyways, I refused to vote. My mom had gone in, and long story short, there was a moderator or someone at that counting event, and they offered to escort me in, and I declined. I said I could have gone in and cast my little piece of paper digitally in, but I chose not to because I didn't want to bow down to the system and say, why do I need a special escort literally to go in there just to have something that is my right as a Canadian citizen? And the second time I did go in, they did not make anyone wear this, although pretty much everyone there was wearing that who were doing the counting. But it was still a digital box that was being used. And I asked the lady who was doing it, she'd been staring at literally at the brand all day. I said, oh, so are you doing this by hand? Oh, no, by this. So I said, oh, like, well, what's the name of the system that you're using? Oh, I don't know. I was like, you've literally been staring at it all day. I saw it as I walked by. She didn't know the name of.
That shows you just how out of it. Some people, they completely become complacent in life, and they just don't.
I kid you not.
Y'all.
And by the way, where we live is not exactly, that shape.
Yeah.
It's kind of, like that.
Yeah. We were
sort of.
Yes. Yes.
Anyway.
It'll be interesting to see like how everything plays itself out, because, and that's why, they say like in the law of one, they say that I've said this before on my channel, like whenever a planet is about to upgrade to a new density. So we're in 3rd density. The planet has to either go 4th density, positive, or 4th. It is upgrading. It's just which way it's going to go now, because now it splits. Traditionally, according to the law of one, life force cannot be on the planet when it goes through that metamorphosis. All animals, plants, humanoids have to get off of it. This is the one time that life force is going to stay living on the planet as the planet goes through its metamorphosis, or the shedding of its skin. And so all of these off-worlder friends, aliens, whatever you want to call them, other humanoids in the cosmos are literally friends. They're literally tailgating right now because they're so curious to see what the fuck's gonna happen. They're like sitting. They're the ones eating their popcorn. We're not the ones that are eating the popcorn. They're the ones that are just sitting back saying, how the hell is this going to happen? Like reality series, Earth season 12, the biggest telenovela there was, like.
Mom Heather, she said like 2 years ago, she goes, I've had enough of my popcorn and moved on to cake. Like, but I will say, digressing a little bit, but we do see some trolls.
Oh yeah,
our friends up there. We've seen Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a lot
they're getting,
about that, but
and
we
the
see
veil
our
is
friends.
getting thinner. The veil is getting thinner too, so we're seeing more. I think that's why people are also seeing more people shape-shifting on camera. It's not that they weren't shape-shifting before, it's just now you're able to see it because the veil is thinning and you're ascending. And so you're able to see people, truthers who are shape-shifting on camera that are not actually in our community. They're infiltrators. This is a war. Like, this is a big time. This is the biggest war of our
We've
lives.
spoken off camera a little bit, like you said, and you know more about the story, but it's a full-on war. I will say a story. I'm happy to share it. This was back in 2020 in the throes of everything, right after I had started waking up around March or so of that year. My mom and I did together. And there was one night she actually woke up because she heard my headboard, and I have a fairly sizable, sturdy headboard, it's wood. And she woke up and it was just going against the wall. And I was like, she looked over and I was sound asleep. And then she actually said, like, we've had more paranormal stuff our whole lives. And she goes, okay, whoever you are, get away and leave her alone. And she said, it left. And she's like, did you hear that? And I said, no. So the next day I actually tried moving the headboard. You can't do that. There's no way that headboard's
usually when
going
a headboard beats against the wall like that, it's a good time, but that did not sound like a good time.
That was a demonic thing that was going on. I woke up so many times that year, just scratches and
Yeah, Sarah and I do have that in common. We were chit-chatting. We both are like, they're like moths to the flame with us. They can see us and they're like, I used to, down here in the South, like, everything's haunted down here in the South, like everything. And there's so many ghost tours you can do, like in all the old neighborhoods. I've done so many of it. And every time I go and they have those like little meters, they always say, you have them. They follow you. I'm like, yeah, I know.
You're like, it's no big news. What's it now? Is it a 24?
They have been following me since I was a kid. Like, nah, I mean, I know. For some reason, they want to like either ghost or they just want to talk to me. And I'm like, listen, when I was a kid, I was too interested in what the boy down the street was doing, the living boy, to be caring about the dead person behind me. But it's just, but we're learning more about that, aren't we? We're learning more about vibration, about, we were talking off camera about this third density body. A lot of us are in, we're coming from the fifth and sixth density. We volunteered literally because we're in the light. We picked this, we had already ascended and picked the service to self, our service to others path, which is the path of light, according to the law of one. And we volunteered to come, which is a very selfless act. And I'm talking to a lot of our viewers right now too. You volunteered. All those people that don't feel like Earth is home, or they always felt a little weird, it's probably because you actually did a very heroic thing and you volunteered. And all the people on the Earth right now are high priority souls. You were put here for a reason because your vibration was strong enough, and you're in it, but you're in a heavy body, and you went through amnesia, and there was a risk to do that because you could have gotten caught back in the karmic loop because you forgot everything. But
100%.
that's why they target a lot of us, is because I was telling Sarah, it's like you learn, like, they know things about you that you don't know about you. And how fair is that? Like, I'm like, that's not fair. Like,
no, like that's what we're saying. I'm like, I literally have felt like I've been in amnesia most of my life, and someone else have gone to a reader and they say, well, don't you know that? Or I'll hear someone say something like, oh my goodness, like I just feel like I've had, again, amnesia my whole life. I'm like, why don't I remember these things? And then you start realizing about all the things that have been going on, and like you said, they start targeting you, and explains the scratches on the back and everything. Now, I can tell you one story about 2018, but all I will say is, I almost exited the earth plane.
Yeah. Oh, girl. Yeah. It's real.
It's real. It's real for like no reason. And I'm like, what is going on? And then now, knowing what we know, I'm like,
they mess with your thoughts.
Guys, you didn't win. You're not going to win. You're done, and you know it.
No, they're not going to win. And that's what infuriates them. That's what infuriates them. I mean, I actually know who's targeting me now. I kind of laugh about it now because I actually have, the contract that they took out. Like, they have to, like, that's the thing I learned too. Like, they have to take contracts out if someone's out of their district. That's the way that the controllers work in their little secret club, is that they have to take contracts out if you're out of their district for them to target you. And like, I'm like, it is so complicated to be a bad guy.
I wonder how many contracts I've had.
I'm like, this is really exhausting. I'm like, it is really complicated to be a bad guy.
How many have you had? It's like, oh, I've had this many. How many have you?
I mean, I'm dumbfounded. I'm like, legit. Like, it's like, this is fucking batshit crazy. I'm like, this is crazy. I'm like, I mean, why? What? I'm like, you're not, I mean, literally, if your God is Lucifer or the God of darkness, whatever, Yelzabeth, whatever you want to call him, that guy is not, there's no loyalty among thieves. Like, they all turn on each other. I know of one arrest that has happened recently. I'm not going to say a whole lot, but it's one arrest of a truther that happened recently, and he squealed big time.
Oh, that's interesting.
Now he's got a monitor on his ankle.
Yes.
He's back on his show being himself, but I'm like, I'm like, he totally tattletale. I'm like, that is what's so funny to me, because I'm like, we're loyal. Like, good people in the light are loyal, and we don't hide shit. Like, I'm not out there taking contracts out on people. If people want my help, I'll help them. Like, we don't have that boundary. If you can help, as my friend Emmy says, energy is not, it's beyond space and time. And I know I know you're an Usui Reiki master. I saw that on you can help, you can do Reiki on someone who's on the other side of the world, because energy is not confined. And so in the light, now, Sarah, if somebody wants your help in India, you don't have to sign contracts with different districts of India to be able to help them, do you?
I'll pick up the phone, or we'll arrange a reading or whatever. I don't need a contract.
I mean, that's what's so crazy.
And I will read for them. Like, I don't.
It just seems very complicated and frankly very exhausting it's very extra to be in the dark. I'm like, the light's just so much easier.
It's so much easier. I mean, I've read for a few people at different places on our realm, and I mean, there's no you don't have to take out territories or anything like that. You're just
serving others.
You're just serving others. Absolutely.
Yeah. We're all brothers and sisters. Yeah, we
truly are. We truly are. And people have asked me before, sometimes in the past, well, how can you read for me if we're not in front of each other? Or how can you do a Reiki session or an energy healing with me if I'm not in the same room? And I say it's akin to them. I say it's akin to picking up a phone. I said, you don't need to be in front of someone face to face in order to have a conversation. And they go, well, no. I said, you can pick up a phone, or you can do Zoom. You can do some form of a video call. And you can have a conversation. They say, yes. I said, well, it's exactly the same. Energy doesn't end. It just changes form, as we know. Like, when I first started getting my Reiki training, this was years ago, my teachers at the time were saying, well, said to our students in the class, look at the books. I'm like, okay, like, what is in the book? We said, well, paper, ink, book binding. Well, what else is in there? Trees, sunlight, water, earth, grass, all the animals that were walking on the tree. It just changed form. The tree is still perfectly a tree. And if you hear background noises, it is not a demonic attack. It's my 21-month-old puppy named Bree, and I'm on the phone, we're on Zoom, and she gets possessive of me being us being on any form of communication. So if you hear, oh, that's Bree saying hi.
Same with my boy. We call Ravi the sheriff, because if and I live in the middle of a city, and if someone dares walk by our window, it is like, whoa, like, he just goes crazy.
Oh,
but yes, they're beautiful. Animals are beautiful. And 20 months, oh man, their puppies are hard.
They're hard. They're hard. She's a chocolate lab. We didn't know what labs are like.
Oh, playful. They're so playful. They're
playful. I was telling you, Brice, off camera, like, I've layered my foundation on because I was outside in this. I know it sounds so stereotypical Canadian, but if I show you outside, you're like, oh, well, yeah, you're in Canada. We're in a winter weather advisory. There's snow falling. There's a bit of a breeze. My face was all been burned. I'm like, okay, like, sorry, but I'm just going to throw this thing on so hopefully it doesn't look red.
You look beautiful. You look beautiful. Listen, you're lucky I have pants on. That's the one thing about YouTube, is that no one knows what your bottom half looks like. Some days I might not even have pants on. So
doesn't matter. It's all good.
Whatever. So actually, there was this funny with Prime Minister, who's one of my friends. He was doing a show live once, and someone was at the door, and he had to block the camera when he got up. He was like, sorry, guys, I didn't have my pants on. I was like, I feel you, man.
It looks nice. Doesn't matter what you're wearing down there.
Upper side. Well, that being said, I just adore you, Sarah. Can you give what kind of background do you want to give the viewers, our friends? I hate saying subscribers, viewers. That feels so non-personal. Our friends watching.
Our friends.
I mean, I was like, I'm so fascinated. Like, how did you discover tea? I know you told me a little bit in the email, but I'm going to let you. How did you discover that? First of all, tea leaf reading, and that you could do it.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting story. Basically, as I said to you in my email, I'm God taught essentially. I didn't take any courses. I started getting into angel oracle cards around 2004. I did that for a few years. Within that space of time, I took some courses about energy work and aura chakras, kundalini, crystal healing, got into Reiki, eventually got to Reiki master teacher level, just mainly for myself, not doing it for other people, although I absolutely can and have and able to. But tea leaf reading is not something that was ever on my radar. I got into doing it. It was 2010 Canada Day weekend. So it was like July 3rd, I think. And it was a bit of a story, but a couple weeks prior to that, I had met a lady who had a store at the time, actually where we were living now, and she popped her head out the window. We were ready, my mom and I were getting into our car, and she goes, do you still do card readings? Because she knew that I did. I did. Next week, did it. And then she said, oh, well, everyone really enjoyed their readings. Can you read tea leaves? And oops, sorry, my dog was walking around. Sorry for the shaky camera. And in my naive innocence, I literally say this story. In my naive innocence, I literally said, oh, I don't know. I guess so. Maybe, sure, okay. That was like literally my answer. Like I had no idea. I didn't really know that tea leaf reading was really a thing. And I have been up until that point about 6 years of just practicing with card readings, sort of working with my psychic ability. It's like a muscle. The more that you use, the stronger it gets. And then the following weekend was July 1st weekend, and I ended up doing tea leaf readings for the majority of the day at her store. And I had a week to prepare. So a friend of my mom's at the time, actually, her mother-in-law Sally had passed away, but she actually gave me this book. I don't know if you can still get it. I think it's pretty much out of print now. This one was printed in 1946. I think there's different copies and versions of this one. But essentially, this is my only frame of reference. A friend of mine at the time had a friend out in Alberta, and they've got in touch. And she was a Reiki lady too. And anyway, so she said, you're familiar with angel cards and tarot cards. I said, I'm familiar with it. I don't really do tarot at that point in time. I'm very much a novice. And she said, well, just think of tea leaf reading as tarot cards or angel cards in a cup. And that made sense to me because they are very similar, extremely similar. They're just different. So rather than having a set deck of cards that you know what is in the deck, you don't know exactly what's going to come out in the cup every time. It's going to be totally different for everyone every single time. So I had a week to prepare. I had that word of advice, watched a couple YouTube videos, had my book that I read from front to back. I don't describe everything in here, but most of it, I base it on this. And I've been doing it ever since, basically.
That's
so
amazing. I think that's a God wink, right? Like all those things, kind of the synchronicities kind of lined up for you. And you had already had so much study yourself. You had the foundation of spirituality. So it wasn't like you were just walking down the street and all of a sudden one day you already had. So it's like God works that way where God will unfold. You know, I always tell people start on your journey because usually where you're starting is not where you're going to end up, but there has to be a starting point. There has to be a foundation. Now I'm going to tell you something, Sarah. This is so funny because being from the South, when I think of tea, I think of iced tea, of sweet tea. And I remember when I was a little kid, we talked about this, about case studies of like word memory. And I was in the 5th grade. It was Miss Eberhardt's class in 5th grade. And somebody came in the class and said, when I say skiing, what comes to your mind? And every kid in the class said water skiing.
Right.
Water skiing. But if I said skiing to you, Sarah, what comes to mind? As a
winter, going down the hill. Something that I've never done. I have no interest in doing. Thank you. But knee injuries prevent a lot of stuff from happening. But no, not interested in skiing. Nothing wrong with it. But that's no.
Yeah, but you would think of snow skiing because of how you grew up. Like we grew up on a lake and on water. It was always hot. It doesn't snow here in the South, you know. So when I think of tea, I think of like iced tea, sweet iced tea. Like not many people in the South drink hot tea. I never had hot tea before until I was in college. And I was in college in the UK, so they're the kind of the master of tea. So I never had hot tea before then. You know, it was always like my grandmother always had a jug of sweet tea. And she was from South Georgia, so she put pineapple juice in her sweet tea. It was a big ice cold, big ice. And that was so when you're using like hot tea, right? Because it's in a tea.
Hot tea.
Yeah.
I'm using hot tea.
So when you are setting it up, do you drink the tea and see what happens with the leaves? And while you're drinking it, do you have that intention of who you're reading for or what you're reading? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, great question. It's something that a lot of people have asked me, and if I've ever done a tea leaf reading. So if I was sitting down with a client and they asked me that question, or if I was in a group setting doing a group tea leaf reading, which I've done many times as well over like a long time, they asked me the same question. I've always said, let me just show you. Because usually when I explain it, it sounds so complicated, even though it's really not, because there's all these little steps to it. And again, I just want to say, like, everyone reads completely differently. Tea leaf reading is still a reading. I work with the boss. Never name names you want to use. So it's whatever needs to come through in the leaves comes through in the leaves, but it's still a reading and needs to be treated with that level of respect.
And this is old. This is an ancient form of divination. This is like almost as old as the king. Yeah.
It's old. I mean, from my research, I mean, it originated in the East. When we know history and the timing, we've been lied to a lot about all of that, all of that. However, it migrated through Europe, I think in mid 1600s or 1500s, as the trade opened up, and then tea sort of worked its way through Europe and then ended up sort of in the UK. So it traveled. But tea leaf reading is also called tasseography, tasseomancy, or tassiology, and it comes from the French root word tasse, which is cup. So it's kind of interesting too that it's called tea leaf reading, because it's literally translates to like cup reading, looking at cups, cup divination. It's along those lines. So even though it's tea, it's actually really a cup. Like, you're looking at a cup. So you could be using, in the past, apparently they use like molten lead, and you can use candle wax and cold water. You can use different things, but I use tea, and tea leaf reading it's a good 500 odd years old, if not older, based on, again, the timing that we've been taught is not true, but it's been around for a very long time. So the process of reading it really depends on, I read the way that I read. Everyone reads differently, just like any other form of reading. So the way that I do it is just unique to myself. And I just sort of go with it and say, okay, God, what do you want me to do now? But I have my process. I'm happy to explain it to you if you like. I'm happy to do it.
What we were going to do, you guys, is she was going to do a general reading on me so you guys can see. I told her, like, we're pre-recording, so if any of my scandalous secrets come out, I'll just cut it out. But I'm pretty much an open book, so I've had people read for me on shows before, so I don't mind. Just so you guys can see, using me as kind of, for the people watching right now who've never had this done, they can see me as your guinea pig. You can see what to expect if you were to go to Sarah for a reading. And also, and I will say too, just to put this out there, I've talked to Emmy, a lot of people have talked about this. Now, even though we're doing my reading on a show, when a person comes to a divinator, everything that happens in that session stays very private, doesn't it, Sarah?
It's confidential. Yeah. I never repeat anything to anyone else. I may generally refer to a client at some later point in time that X, Y, Z happened. However, for the most part, I'm not even going to remember it.
Yeah.
And nor it's not for me. It's for the client. It's nothing to do with me. I'm just literally just I'm a conduit. I'm literally relaying information. That's all.
Yeah. So I wanted to keep that clear with people, especially, anytime you're working with somebody who works in the light, they're going to be very sensitive around the confidentiality of what's being spoken about. I know that the good therapists are that way too. So I wanted to make that clear to people as well. And I am so freaking fascinated by this, Sarah. So do you want to start and use me and show how people, I don't know, what do you want to do?
Sure.
You're the professional. So
let me boil the water again. So
okay.
I don't know if you want to cut this part out, but you're going to hear some boiling water in the background.
That's okay. I will say, while you're doing that, there is a great tarot card reader on YouTube called Maji, and she's copyrighted this saying, so I'm going to give her credit, but it's a great saying. She goes, "If God hired me, who's going to fire me?" I love it.
That's awesome.
I love it. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I never planned on doing tea leaf reading. It was like the last thing completely off my radar, and it literally just happened. And I've been doing it ever since, really. And I've learned as I've gone along. As I said to you before, I'm pretty much God taught, other than this one book that I read. Full credit to whomever the author is. I don't know, but it sounds like they were Scottish at the time. I actually was told by a psychic a few years ago, just in passing. I love her and I completely trust her. She's like, "You were that author and you wrote that book and now you're back to expand it." I'm like, that makes sense, because when I read it, actually sounds, you can hear, I have 4 planets in Sagittarius. Okay. I have 2 planets in Leo, ethical high horse. Yeah, I know. But when you read it, I'm like, that sounds exactly what I'm saying, just in a kind of archaic language. I'm saying the same thing. But it's so true. Like I literally just relay whatever I see. Tea leaf reading, the best way that I can describe it is it describes events and situations which are likely to occur. It describes the event, qualities and characteristics of events and situations which are likely to occur at this moment in time. Time can change, events and situations can change, but as of this moment in time, this is what's being presented. Take it for what you will and leave what you don't.
Yeah, and I will say it's so funny. We were talking about Scottish and the Celtic heritage and all that kind of stuff, and that is the Magdalene. That's the Magdalene. What I've learned from, and you're not gonna, guys. So if you're new to my channel, you're not gonna find this in history books. LOL.
No.
Those are like fantasy books. Those are fairy tales.
Fiction.
But her mother, Magdalene's mother, was Kentuckian. I'm not saying Kentucky. People get confused. Kentuckian. She was from a planet called Kentucka. Not she herself, but her line was from. She was from Earth, but her line. And I think it was the Cassiopeians that really spoke about this. We'll say because of the algorithms of YouTube, but the country that starts with a U, the Unicorn Country by the Black Sea. The capital of that unicorn country, there's a huge portal. And that's part of what they were fighting for. And the Kentuckians came through that portal. And they were brought to, you're fine. They were brought to planet Earth by the reptilians, the Draco, because their planet had been destroyed by the reptilians and the Draco. And so a lot of these divination things and the Celtic heritage comes from that planet. The Druid, the good part of the Druid culture comes from that. I mean, they were probably river dancing up a storm up in Kentucky before they had to. So the blonde hair, the blue eyes, the red hair, the green eyes, the stuff you think about, like basically what Sarah and I look like, that's the genetic makeup of a Kentuckian. And so that's why when you see the original pictures of Magdalene, she had reddish blonde hair, which makes sense. Yeshua was black, but Magdalene was, which is the Syrian, from my understanding, the Syrian constellation. But Magdalene was, her mother was, I'm not sure where her father's, I know who her father was, but I'm not sure what his galactic lineage was, but her mother was Kentuckian. And that's where a lot of these really kind of good kind of witchy stuff come. Like I find like it's the good kind of like very ritualistic. It comes from that. And they were a positive oriented planet. So
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's very interesting too that you said about positive oriented, because that's something that I've often found in readings generally, but with tea leaf reading too. Some people are afraid of it, but people approach tea leaf reading, I found, a little bit more openly because it's kind of cute. Oh, yes. It's tea leaf reading. Oh, isn't that cute? It's a nice tea leaf reading. Oh, it's a quote. It's our entertainment for the afternoon, which is completely fine, but don't just respect the process.
It's powerful. It's
very powerful. It's someone's life. And this is what I was saying too. Tea leaf reading is tea leaf reading. Psychic mediums readings are psychic medium readings, but they're still readings. Tarot cards are tarot. They're still tarot. There's still, yes, we can talk about tea leaf reading, and I'm happy to do it. But the other half is all of the ethics and all of the boundaries that come with tea leaf reading. And yes, I started doing angel cards or oracle cards 5, 6 or so years before I started doing this. 3 or 4 years before that, I was reading about spirituality and angels and all that. So you're constantly doing all of this work. But yes, tea leaf reading is a little bit more accepted because, oh, isn't it cute? Or often what I hear is, oh, my grandmother did it, or my aunt does it, or my mom did it.
There's familiarity there too.
It is.
Yeah. And I say too, like I've my whole life been very interested in divination, and I've loved it my whole life. But it's almost like you kind of have your soul kind of remembers that this is a way to communicate with the divine.
100%.
And, and so I would encourage people. I know that the controllers have really tried to paint divination as something that it's not. And of course, we know that the bad guys can use divination for bad purposes. But as she's saying, as an ethical reader who's doing it for the highest good, there are boundaries. Like I know ethical readers won't read on people who don't give consent. There are these, be boundaries that people put up. And so
boundaries, I mean, I have not to interrupt. I've had clients before ask me in tea leaf reading specifically, oh, is there anything in there about my family? Is anyone specific to my life? And I'll say, I use humor quite a bit. Sometimes I'll say, I don't know. And they'll say, what do you mean? I'm like, I literally don't know. I said, I literally don't know if there is anything in here regarding someone else, human figures. If you see my readings, you see little people formed. That's one thing, but I don't read for anyone if I don't have their permission. Now in psychic medium readings, if something comes up from the divine, something comes through, I say to my client, if something does come through about someone else, I will say it, but only because it's coming through. Yeah. Most oftentimes it doesn't come through. I don't have their permission.
Yeah, you're also a psychic medium too, and I understand what you're saying, because it could be like a warning about a person, but it doesn't really mean that person's bad. It's just maybe not karmically timed for, but it's not engaging in that person's privacy as far as their private, So there's many reasons why psychically a warning could be put forth. It's not necessarily painting the person as bad, but it just might not, maybe it's not good for you, or it's not good for them, or we don't know. Yeah, because I love that you're a psychic medium as well. I think that very fascinating. Oh my God! If God,
oh my God,
Google fire me. Thanks, Maji.
I'm like, okay, God, like, what do you want me to say? Said my prayers before. I'm like, okay, just let me know. Give me the words. Yeah. Give me the word, please. Thank you.
So that's very different. Like if somebody came in and said, I have a crush on Johnny Smith down the road, and I want to read on him to see how he feels about me and what's going on. That is crossing a line. Same with tarot card. Like if someone came in, I want to know about like Tom whatever down the street that I really like. Can we read on him? No, that's crossing a line because he's not here.
And about younger people too. I have read for one individual. It was complete consent from her, and one of this individual's parents expressly came to me and said, she's a little younger. She wants a reading. I want her to have a reading. I want a reading. Are you willing? I said, if you are giving as her parent full permission, I'm more than happy to do it. Yeah. More than happy. Do you want to be in the room during the session?
Yeah.
And I have turned down a couple times. One time specifically was approached to do a Harry Potter themed tea leaf reading group thing for a group of younger individuals, and I said no. And you may find it difficult to find someone else who's going to be doing divination for them who were ethical, because they're younger individuals. You need express permission. In my mind, this is just me talking, but you need permission. The last thing you need is any angry parents on the phone saying, yeah, why did you do that? And
why did my 6-year-old get a read it? Yeah, I get it. Absolutely. I get it. So yeah, so I would guess say if people are curious about that, they can always, if they have like a young child who is interested in this, they can always contact you to see.
Absolutely.
Talk about that and figure out what's the best path of action.
100%, but I would always need permission, in my mind anyway, from that individual's parent or guardian before anything ever happened, because they're underage. I'm going to respect that. But yeah, absolutely. Just let me know.
Awesome. I'm so excited. This is so fascinating to me.
Yeah, tea leaf reading is different because like I said before, not too many people do it, or they're not aware of it, or they don't think of it. Or a few times I've actually had clients come in saying, you're doing it? I was expecting you to be wearing tie-dye, or, how old are you? Like, I was like this one lady, she was lovely. And she's like, at the end of it, she's like, oh, well, I that was really nice, but I was expecting you to be like, a
little old lady.
Yes. I'm like, thank you. I don't take offense, but I'm like, but that's the general preconception that people think that they have around tea leaf reading. But yeah, it's really interesting because like tea leaf reading for myself, it's all literal, symbolic, or both. Images, like we all have different meanings that we associate with different symbols, and vice versa. So like if I were to ask you, for example, what does the meaning of an archway represent to you? When you think of an archway, what words come to mind? This is what I often ask.
I would say new beginning, walking into a new beginning. I see
exactly.
Before. Yeah.
Like that is like a general. That's Brice. Sorry. That's a.
She's confirming. She's confirming.
She's confirming. God is saying yes. That's generally what I say too. But I'll use various words oftentimes, as you hear in my readings online too. That I use different words to describe the same thing, because sometimes people wouldn't say new beginning. That wouldn't make sense, but they'll hear a new opportunity.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense to me. So there's generally there's a commonality between different symbols that we associate meanings with. but they're not all the same for everyone. So when I do tea leaf reading, I have images and associated meanings and vice versa that are just unique to myself and my own experiences. I love the Celtic. I love the tarot. So if I see swords or wands or pentacles, or if I see cups, I'm going to associate those images with those meanings in that reading, in that grouping, and that's unique to my own experience. If you were to look at the cup, same leaves, you would likely see something different, completely fine and great. It's just we're seeing different things. Or if you were reading for me, and material wealth was a thing, you may see a pentacle, but it may not be the same thing for myself. I would see something different. So it's very, I don't want to say interpretation, because to me that just sounds so 3D, but we all have different meanings that are associated with. So different tea leaf readers read differently. I read the way that I do it, and yeah.
It's going to show at each spirit plays fair on the side, and they'll show people what the person needs to see for their own journey as well. So it's absolutely. Totally, and that's the same with any like yoga. Everybody's going to have a different struggle in a different place, because it's about your own experience within your own friction of life and the polarity of third density. And so that makes total sense to me. It's not black and white.
No,
really, things in life are black and white. Mostly they're in shades of gray. And so that makes absolute sense to me, for sure. For sure.
Yay. That's good. So does that sort of make sense to you? Because I know, like, tea leaf reading, it's very, like, at first glance you think, well, it's very simple. You look at leaves formed in the cup, you read them, but and from my own experiences too, from doing it now for going on 13 years this July, it's just different every single time. You never see the same reading twice. You always see different things. You never know what you're going to see. And I'm learning all the time. That's the thing. Like, when I say God taught, I really mean God taught. How many times I've sat in front of a client and I'll see an image there. Like, literally one time it was a garbage can. Literally it was a garbage can. And I'm like, God, please tell me, what do I do? What do I say? Okay, well, as organization, you're completing something. Something is being completed. It represents the idea of finalization of completing something, for example.
Like something out. Yeah, the trash out. Yeah. I would have been like, oh shit. Once
I saw a coffin and I'm like, okay, well, I don't do anything bad, but okay, what's around there? Well, there's some form of transformation that's taking place. It doesn't mean that someone is exiting Earth plane. It just means that
sense. The death card in the tarot often does not mean literal death. It means like something is ending and something else. It's also the rebirth card too, right? So
exactly.
That makes sense.
I don't want people to get freaked out. Usually the saddest image I have ever seen, and usually, is a crying fat face. I see emojis a lot. Like, I'll see like little faces or happy faces or crying faces. Like, that's the saddest one I've ever seen. So not to get people freaked out, because it's really not scary. It's just that people think, oh, what's going to be in there? I'm like, or often they'll say, oh, well, none of that makes sense to me. And I'll say, well, no, I'm sure it doesn't, because it hasn't happened yet. I read chronologically. That's just how I learned. Yeah. That's how I've always done it. For myself, the rim represents a present situation. The sides are on the way. I'm a very casual Leo here, so I use casual words. Present situation, the sides are on the way. The base is more of the distant future. So now, on the way and later. That's just how I learned. That's how I do it. I know that people use
I didn't even know that. I've been watching your videos, and I just see tea leaves. Like, I'm just like, so, I mean, that God definitely, and think about how amazing that is, guys. Like, that's how cool God is. Like, none of us were given the same talents. And how amazing is that we all just work together cohesively with our different. And so God gave Sarah a talent, like literally was like, boop, you do this,
literally,
So
I had no idea. I was zero interest in tea leaf reading and didn't really know it was a thing. And it literally happened within a few minutes. I'm like, okay, all right.
And God has a sense of humor too. So he's like, tee. What's that joke? If you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So yeah, I'm excited. Thank you so much for having me on, and I'd like to thank all of your viewers. I didn't realize that you had posted your post in your community tab. I was offline pretty much that day. I looked back, and the subscriber count in my channel was like going up. I'm like, oh, what's happening? And then I'm like, oh, did Brice do something? And then I saw your post. I was like, oh my gosh. So thank you to everyone who's been watching my videos, liking, commenting, subscribing. I am just so surprised. Like, thank you so much for everyone's support. And when I say like my little comments of thank you, I appreciate it, I really mean it.
Yeah, that's, I think I always say, and I think all of us, like myself, Shanti, we all share the same subscribers, which I hate calling people that because,
I know,
like
friends.
it's, yeah, but we have the coolest group because if you go to other corners of the internet where they, like the drama channels, they compete with each other, right? But like over here on our side, we're like, listen, we're in a war.
It's warfare.
We
But
got
you
to
don't remember
stick
that you
together.
were fighting some demons. You don't remember that you were fighting demons last night. It's all good. It's totally fine.
We got to stand side by side. We got to support each other. So yeah, it's definitely, that's just absolutely, and all the viewers that are friends watching right now are very much part of that. And so it's my pleasure. Like that's my, I don't think any of us who opened up platforms ever wanted to be like famous. That way, it was just we felt a need to create community because shit's really getting crazy, and like, especially in 2020, it was like, what the fuck is going on? And so when you're sitting there like staring at a world and you're seeing one thing, but the person beside of you is seeing something totally different, and you're like, but nothing's making sense. We all got on YouTube to find that community. And so that's what's happening, and that's what's so beautiful. And now we're like, and like we were laughing offline, guys, because we were like, half of the people in the world right now still think the beer bug is a real thing. And over here, we're like, so what does our planet look like? We like so far past that. We're like, you guys realize Tartaria exists? Like, we're like gone so far past what your neighbor is actually doing. Like, they still are walking around covered like this. And we're like, so there was a time people they had incubator babies, and then they, like, so it's so yeah. So our viewers. Yeah, amazing. And so I'm so glad you came on, Sarah. I know you're going to be coming back even more. So where do we go from here? Should we start the tea reading, or?
I'm ready to start if you are.
Let's go. Okay. You guys, all my scandalous secrets are gonna
You're gonna call in your tea leaves. I do say jokingly, but it's 100% true. Tea leaves can be X-rated sometimes.
Oh, girl, have you seen? Obviously, you've seen my channel.
So, I've seen your channel. I've been watching you for like 3 years.
These me make sex jokes. Sex is funny. Like that X-rated stuff can be funny sometimes. Let's be honest. When I found out Messiah meant a phallical pillar, I think I laughed for like a week because I was like thinking about all the fundamentalists who attack me all the time. I'm like, you're literally going to your cult and singing songs about a penis. Like.
And here I am looking at the tea leaves going, oh my gosh, there's been a few times I'm like looking in there. I'm like, God, you really want me to see this?
So how's your sex life? No.
I'm like, you really want me to tell them? Okay, all right, fine. So there may be some romantic opportunity coming up in a little while. Just be very open to it. There may be someone, a romantic partnership appearing in the next, and they're like, wait a second, is there something else going on? I'm like, let me show you the leaves. And it's a true story.
There's the penis. You're gonna have a real good time. Your head.
What do you think? Ace of Cups
for different reasons. Yeah,
Ace of Cups, right? Ace of Cups. Oh God, you have to love it.
Baby batter, because that's coming at you. The one-eyed monster is coming at you with some baby batter. So yeah, you don't have to worry about saying polite things around me. I'm very comfortable. My teachers in India always say the highest level of spirituality is a sense of humor. And so I've taken that very much to heart. That, you know what, as scary and awful as this all can be, it is kind of fucking funny too. Like, it is a little.
You have to laugh.
You have to. I mean, that's why I was laughing about the dark side having to take out fucking contracts. Like, are you kidding me? Like, that's so extra, like.
I mean, I don't know about that from my own experience, but all the scratches I've had in my upper back, literally stopped like 2 years ago, but I had them literally for years, as red as Brice's shirt. And I'm like, okay, guys, like, do you have seriously nothing else better to do than try and, like.
Aren't you bored yet? Because I'm not going to turn.
No,
bored.
Not happen. Like, seriously, you just laugh at them. You have to. You're like, do you have nothing better to do than like,
Yeah. You have to just laugh. Well, that's the one thing demons don't know how to do. They don't know how to laugh. So, because laughing comes from a place of love, right? It's a high vibrational activity. So
exactly. You make fun of yourself. It's all good. It's all fine.
And you gotta laugh at yourself too. You can't take yourself so seriously. No. That's how we win this thing, guys. That's how we win these things. So
exactly.
Well, if my teacup says Ace of Cups coming your way, I will be very excited. So.
Well, let's look and see what's coming up in your tea leaves, and let's just see. So everyone has a different way to do it. Again, mine's chronological, And I don't really have any set form of timing. The only time that I can ever sort of get an idea of timing of a time frame is if one of two things appear. If you have like a constellation or an astrological sign.
Okay.
And if that's around like a human, I don't like to say the word person, but a human form, then you can see it likely if there's someone who is that sign involved, or tea leaf reading is really an or it's representing that time frame. Or if you have planned a trip and it's showing up for myself anyway, just myself as a horizontal line, then, and you already have that trip planned and you know when that is taking place, we can say likely at this point in time, this is what I'm seeing between here and here is between now to June. But since you have a trip planned in June, from this is June onwards, and they would say, oh, okay.
Okay. So that makes a lot of sense. Okay. Yes.
Timing. And again, these are all things that I've just learned over the years from doing it. But yeah, it's all literal, symbolic, or both. That's the very, very, very simplistic version of tea leaf reading that I could describe. And it's really cool. It's really interesting. And you see everything. Like, I'm always learning new things. I'm seeing new things all the time. And groupings, like I will see in individual tea leaves, they can have shapes. They mean things. Oftentimes most often you'll see groupings of tea leaves grouped in a certain way, and that will have different meanings. For what I do, I look to see what images are formed there in a certain grouping. For example, I look at their size relative to each other, how clearly they're formed, what images are around it, where it's placed, and that all describes that event or situation taking place.
Okay.
Yeah. So cool. Let's look and see. Let's look and see. Okay. So, all right. So how I do it is I already have, so you are enjoying maple rooibos tea today. And it's funny because I'm actually a coffee drinker, and I say that in all seriousness. I do not drink tea. I do not like it very much, which is really funny. But you're having maple rooibos tea. It doesn't smell lovely. It had to be maple, right? Canadian.
Yep. I love that. That's how God has a sense of humor. She's like, I like tea.
So I have, if we were sitting in front of each other and if we were using like actual like loose leaf tea, I would put the tea in your cup. I would fill it with hot water. I would let you sip it. We'd have a little chit chat about tea leaf reading or whatever. And then you give it back to me, and then I would get the cup ready. Now in this case, doing it remotely, I have your maple tea in here, your rooibos tea. Sometimes I say jokingly but true, rooibos tea, I'm kind of self-sabotaging myself because the formation of rooibos is like little sticks, so it makes me work harder because there's more detail involved. But I mean, I have it on hand. That's what I use. I use whatever I have. So this is what I have. We're using rooibos. And yeah, let's look and see. So I have your tea ready. I've put some hot water in. So at this point in time, people can see here. At this point in time, I'm going to ask you, don't tell me what you're thinking about, please. I don't want to know because it keeps me objective. I don't need to know, don't want to know, don't like to know. If I don't know, then I don't know. And I'm not trying to inadvertently connect dots in my mind to what you've said to what's in here. Please think of an area of your life that you like to gain some insight into. Don't tell me what it is. And please tell me when you start thinking about it and when you finish thinking about it. And when you're thinking of it, I know it sounds complicated, but it's really not. I'm going to swirl the cup. And when you're finished thinking about it, I'm going to stop, and then I'll get on to the next step.
Okay. All right.
Sounds complicated, but it's not.
No, it makes sense to me because energy is coming from the head. Okay, so here we go. I'm starting.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. So now that I've swirled the tea leaves, I have my little bowl. So I'm going to strain excess liquid out of the cup. People can see it. This is why on my channel I don't show myself either preparing the cup or me reading, because honestly all you see is me doing this the whole time. Like, it's pretty boring. I figure if I show the leaves, at least they have something to look at. Okay, so I have here, so I'm straining it out. You sort of need to have like a good balance between the liquid in the cup versus the leaves in the cup. So if you have too much of one or one of the other, they all fall in, they all stay out. So I'm going to just make sure I have the right consistency. I need a little bit less liquid. So it may look bizarre. Sometimes I use I've just realized I was doing it. Sometimes I'll use Kleenex and I'll just put it in, and that absorbs a bit more water.
That makes sense.
Get more of a controlled thing. Again, this is just things that God's taught me over the years, quite literally, just from experience. Okay. Okay, that's good. You sort of want to have like a good balance between the like I said, the liquid and the tea. So right now, if you look in here, I'm sort of like moving around, but you see it's sort of clumping still in the bottom.
Yeah.
So that's good. That means that we have enough that we're going to have leaves staying inside the cup. Let me move it over here. I'm just going to push the leaves down a little bit. Bree's saying hi. Like she's been up my side. She keeps coming over and she's like, hi.
I love the tail. I love the tail. The tail is always the best on dogs because they can't hide. Even when they try to pretend to be mad, if the tail's wagging, they can't hide it. They're happy.
I'm like, I'm trying to concentrate, but you just keep like wanting me to pet you. Okay. I know, darling. I know. Did you want to say hi? Want to come up and say hi? No? Okay. Okay. So now what I do is I upturn it. Everyone will do this differently. This is just how I do it. So I will take a regular side plate and I'll put it on here. It's trickier if you're using a fine china, a bit more scary, but because it's like fine china. I do this and then flip it over. 1, 2, 3. Didn't spill it. Yay. And then we just have that turned over. Some people will tip it over, like tip it out, the liquid out. I don't do that. I just do a flip. And some people I know use printed cups. I don't use pre-printed cups. I never have, and nothing against them. But to me, I like doing it just with whatever the universe wants me to know.
Yeah.
Rather than, I have nothing against that. I've never had a tea leaf reading with that, but I don't use anything pre-printed. It's just tea leaves, water, God, cup. That's it. So what I do is I turn it around 3 or 4 times, just depending on whatever I feel like doing at the moment. And then I just let it drip dry just for a few seconds. So I'm just gonna like absorb a little bit of the liquid that's coming out. And may you please like roughly tell me how long you want this reading to be, just so I can gauge timing.
15 minutes, if that's okay for the audience.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yes, and I noticed on your website while you're doing that, I'll tell the audience listening. If you go on her website, she has different times for readings and stuff, so you can kind of pick and gauge, you know.
Yeah, and if I ever need to, I do as much as I can, and usually I motor talk my way through to give as much information as possible. But it's totally up to the client, whatever they would prefer. And I typically don't go less than 15 minutes, and I've explained that to other people in the past. It's because I want to give you as much information as possible. To give you a sound reading, a tea leaf reading in less than 15 minutes is a little bit difficult. On my channel, you can see most of the readings I do are like around 20 minutes, and that's cut down. Usually it's like a 15-minute clip.
For me, that's fine. If whatever you need to do,
that's fine.
So that the audience gets a better view of what actually happens in these types of readings. So you do you, girl. Whatever you need to do.
Thank you. Glasses are coming off now. Short-sighted hair. Oh, Brice is blurry. Okay, so I have your. Oh, wow. Okay, sorry. So I have your. I can't see myself. Okay, so these are your tea leaves. I'm happy to send you a picture of this after.
Yes. Okay. I just see tea leaves. That's all I'm seeing. So.
Oh, like this is what people often say. Like I'll ask the client afterwards. I'm just gonna dab a bit more liquid out, and I'll ask, like, offer, like, would you like to take a picture of your tea leaves? And sometimes they'll say yes, and sometimes they'll say I see nothing. I'm like, that's fine, but once you try it, though, you have to like be very patient. That's the thing, especially when you first start, because you let your eyes sort of go out of focus. It's almost like you go in focus and you go out of focus. You zoom in to the details and you zoom out constantly.
I get that. I have astigmatism is what the medical world would say. I have glasses somewhere. I stopped wearing them though, because I realized what they called astigmatism was actually my ability to see spirits.
Cool. Yeah, makes sense.
So I get that. I can make my eyes zoom in and out as well. So I totally get that. I'm sure a lot of people watching right now that probably resonates with them because
awesome.
Yeah. Science will tell you that's a visual issue.
It's not. I don't think it is. I think it's like you literally just are seeing things differently. I mean, if they're saying something is something, it's likely the opposite. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let's look at your tea leaves. All right. So I usually like to start at the rim. This is just something that I have started doing over the years. So the rim is the present situation. So this is like right now. This is like happening right this second. So what I do is, let me just click here. 1. I go quiet sometimes. 1.
That's okay.
Oh, wow. Okay. Hang on. Sorry. That's big. So Okay, 4. Okay, so it's 4. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I'm going to say that there was about 4 to 5 events or situations which are happening right now. 2 in regards to your situation, or I'll say and or otherwise, because it's whatever universe wants us to know, that are highly significant. 2 of them are highly significant. The other ones are sort of more minor. And I would say certainly in the 2 larger ones, it's either a feeling of like you wanting to get things moving faster, and or you're happy that things are calm and clear and quiet, and you're good with that. So it's either this feeling of quietness, or I don't like to use the word stuck or stagnation, but you could use that word too. Things are kind of like, and you're like, I want things to get moving, or you're very happy with the fact that things are quiet. This is what I mean about me using multiple words to describe the same thing.
Do you know
I have no idea.
Because she has no idea what I actually asked about, but that is literally the situation I asked about. Like, I've literally had the simultaneous feelings of like, I need this to speed up, and oh no, I'm actually happy that it's kind of slowing down. Like,
interesting.
Simultaneously had those same feelings.
Interesting.
I want the situation to speed up, but I'm also terrified of it of what's going to happen too if it speeds up. So I was like, oh, when you said that, because yeah, it's the most bizarre, and I'm sure people watching can relate to that, where there's something major happening in your life and you want clarity and answers and you want it sped up to the end because you think you know how it's going to work out, but you also don't at the same time.
100%. Wow. Okay, that's really cool. Thank you. Yay.
Humans are so complicated. We're so complicated. So dramatic, us humans.
I know, it's like, oh yeah, it's fine. No, really, no. I totally get it. So thank you for that confirmation. I love it. Okay, wow, there's a lot in here. All right, so but continuing with the current situation, you have 1, 2. All right, so 2 of those scenarios are actually the 2 large scenarios plus 1, 2, 2 smaller, actually 2 smaller events or situations are also occurring. And they are related to this one main event or situation. This is a layout that you often see on my channel. This is a layout that I often see when I read for clients. It's like this one main event or situation that's taking place, that's going forward. They are all related to what you were just talking about. It's related to what is on the way. So it's directly related. It's just happening right now. And this is that leads to all of this. And since you did say it's feeling of stagnation, you're like, what's going on? I would say that based on how near the tea leaves are to the rim, this is me sort of going into teaching mode, but I would say that it's going to be happening very soon. So whatever this is related to, they are connected to this event or situation, and it's going to be happening like pretty much imminently. There's something that it's leading to something, and it's sizable enough. It's taking up easily a third of the cup. I mean, you can see that here. So when I see something to that effect, I mean, if you look, you can see it's pretty much a third of the cup.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very sizable, whatever this is referring to. Oh, there's a heart. Okay, that's good. That's neat. So I'm moving ahead. But anyway, whatever this event or situation is referring to, you're going to be having. There's a few things. First, this is me going out and then going into detail. So as an overview, you're going to be having clarity regarding all of this. So as the event or situation is unfolding, it's like you're going to be seeing things for how they are. There's going to be some surprises along the way that this is referring to, things that we're not supposed to know right now. But you're going to also know what is happening. You're going to see things happen in front of you. You're kind of maybe almost always also know where you stand regarding those individual scenarios of just part of the overall situation. You're also going to be able to sort of pace yourself. It's going to be very hectic and busy, but you are also going to be able to pace yourself too, because you do have a fair amount of clear space in here, which you can see. To me, that means like you're able to, like, again, pace yourself. Right now, there's something happening, taking place right now, leading to the whole event. It involves forward movement, also getting things organized in whatever way, shape, or form that may be, whether that's like a physical thing, material, papers, turning things, whatever the case is, but getting things organized, clarity, getting things tidied up, organized. Writing is involved in some way, shape, or form, likely something to do with the letter, depends how you look at this, either the letter, potentially the letter S, but also potentially the letter M as well. Yeah. So, and maybe the letter N, it depends how you look at it. M, N, and or S. And it's something to do with a document of some kind, whatever. Again, I have no idea what this is referring to. So this is me doing intuitive reading. I have no idea what this is about, but I'm just describing what I'm saying.
Stop recording. I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to say it on air, but because this is.
I have no idea, and I don't want to know right now because.
Yeah, I didn't want to compromise it, but yeah, yeah.
Cool. Thank you. And it's also, there's another situation present as well. It's another document of some sort. It's much smaller in significance, but it is also present. So those 4 things are present right now, and they're helping to lead to this whole event or situation. Specifically what I just said, this is creating a form of, okay, so you're receiving something very good. There's a Cancerian connection, excuse me, involved. Sorry. Is there someone here? Do you happen to have a departed loved one who had an issue with the throat? Maybe they were a smoker. Is this do you happen to have, sorry, sometimes this happens. Do you happen to have a departed loved one? This is likely a male who had a throat condition, maybe a smoker. My voice is going on me when this happens.
My dad's been coming through in a lot of.
Oh, okay.
He smoked a lot, but he had a near-death experience because of his heart, but I think his cancer came in his lungs.
Okay. I'm having you heard my voice change. It's getting.
I'm just like, yeah, he's been coming. Sorry, dealing with this situation that I'm at. In other readings, he's come through dealing with this. He's come through and male, yeah, that would be my grandfather, Ed.
Okay, so please know that he is coming forward. He's saying hello, and my voice is clear now. So that means we have to acknowledge that who it is, and that this is who is coming forward to say hello. And he's giving you a present of some kind. He's like, you're going to be receiving a gift of some sort near to the end of the month. Also talking about something to do, I know you're Aquarius, but something to do with the end of February. I can see a date. Don't know if you want to edit this out, but there's an 18 or a 20, more like an 18 or 28 near to the end of the month of February. You're getting a gift. He's showing a gift of some kind, like you're receiving something good. And also the number 23. And to me, there are more dates than anything else, 18 and 23. Well, and also the number 11. So does that make...
Oh, fuck. I see 11s. Like, it is comical how often I see 11. And he was a Cancerian. He was... Okay. Yeah, cool. He was a Cancer.
Amazing. Amazing.
That makes me like emotional. Yeah. My granddaddy Ed. Like I feel like he really has tried to protect me a lot.
Absolutely. Well, he's obviously like, I feel like he's gotten his message across, so he's backed up now, but he just wanted to say hi. Sometimes they'll come and say hello, and he obviously wanted to say hello. He's like, you're going to be perfectly fine. It's making you stronger, and wait till what happens. Wait till you see what happens in September. Wink, wink. September, October. There's something like massively good for you happening. Okay, don't know if you want to edit this part out, but it's almost like, don't tell me if you don't want to, but a center, you creating a center. I know you do yoga, but like having a center, a healing center, some kind of center, a place where people can come to for healing, something.
Yeah, it connects to a past life too. Yeah.
Okay. I don't need to know any detail, but that's what he's saying. It's related, and it's something to do with September, October. He's like, wink, wink. 28 keeps coming up, something to do with that. And it's like, what is happening? Whatever this is referring to, whatever you're going through right now, it's helping to bolster you for what is to come. But what's to come, as we know, is really good, but it's really good. It's like you are being rewarded. I mean, we know a little bit, but you're being rewarded. You have been, but you are being rewarded for everything. All the shit that you've been through is what I'm going to say. And it's coming. The dates are changing. It could be August, but it's somewhere around August, September, October. He's like saying, like, wait till you find out. He's like winking at you. He's like, wait till you find out.
he had a wicked sense of humor. Like the Watsons side of my family are fucking hysterical. Like they're hysterical. But you know,
He's winking at you. You're like,
he he wanted to get me to he wanted to buy me studios. He wanted to give me places to and I never took that from him. They were my dad's parents were very wealthy, and I never took that from them. You know, when he passed away, my grandmother was left, and I didn't, you know, that's her estate, so she's gone now. But I love my granddaddy. Like he's
amazing. He's amazing. He's hanging out here, but he's like, no, sorry, he's over there now, but he's around, but he's like, no, he just wanted you to know. He's like, you needed to know.
Oh, that makes you feel.
He's like, knock, knock. He's like saying, knock, knock. He's like, she needed to hear it again because she hasn't been listening, or been telling her she doesn't believe me, or she's ignoring me or something. He's like, knock, knock. I'm here. Hi, here. I'm telling you again. So
the situation has been kind of dragged out. So you do lose faith after a while. You do. And then something will happen. You're like, yes. And you're like, bam, I'm comfortable now. I'm comfortable in the not knowing, because that's what I'm comfortable with. But you want it to move forward. So
I told Mom 3 days before I emailed you for your shadow work challenge, I was talking to God 2 or 3 days. I'm like, okay, if I need a sign, if this is what you want me to do, send me a sign, a good sign. And then I emailed you, and then you emailed me back, and then everything is like gone from there. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay, thank you, God. It's true. Okay, so yeah, so he wanted to say hi. I know it's so weird because like I shift gears so quickly. I'm like, okay,
no, that's fine. It's amazing. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, great. So he wanted to say hi. So yes, there is a concerning connection here. This everything I just mentioned about the letters and the document and getting things organized, it's related to a form of stability. It's creating a sense of stability for you in some way, shape, or form. Yes, and you are receiving good things with this. There's just so much in here. Like we could literally go for an hour very easily, but I can say offhand, I'll do a quick glance, but there's the concept of getting things, oh, wow, interesting. Okay, organized, tidied up, sorted out. I'm seeing a lot of vacuums is what I'm seeing. So getting things sorted out, organized, cleaned up, organized, whatever way, shape, or form that may be. I'll say that once for sake of not repeating myself. Also, definitely getting things moving forward. You have a couple. I know rooibos is formed as little sticks. However, there are variables in how they do appear. So you do have some ones in here getting things moving, action, momentum. Some documents and some signing of things. I'll just say that to prevent myself from saying it like multiple times. But you have a lot of scrolls in here with pens or like with pens or pencils. So that to me means like this is either representing education and or getting things signed. Documents are being signed. In whatever shape or form, however, there's multiple of them. There's happy faces. You are happy with the scenario, certainly near the beginning. There is, okay. I don't know what your grandfather looked like. So again, I'm not trying to like connect the dots, but there is someone, a helpful individual involved near the beginning, and you're happy about the whole scenario, whatever this is referring to in this situation, specific to this grouping. And there's a helpful individual involved. It looked to be like quite like maybe dark haired, potentially swarthy skin, but definitely dark hair, prominent nose, and they're helping. They're helping in this scenario. Okay. Cool. Well, there's a map of the states in here, so that's really cool. So definitely a connection to the U.S. Certainly, I would say in your area, because I'm not seeing California. If I don't see California in a map of too much detail, but anyway, is highlighting your vicinity. So whatever this is regarding, maybe some connection regarding to where you are. But there's a lot, there's some things in here about getting helpful people are involved, a partnership of some sort. Person, place, or thing likely involved in this situation with a letter E involved. Now, this could be your name, Brice. Potentially, there's an E in your name. It could be that, could be something else. Again, lots of documents. This is just up near the top. Protection, there's protection regarding this, which is nice. I think we're all divinely protected anyway. But there is protection regarding that scenario specifically. And there is a sense of new beginnings, but also abundance that is beginning to take form, and also happiness, maybe even taking a leap of faith and starting on a new journey. Like you're starting something new. It's a leap of faith. You're happy. You're starting something new. It's something to do with a document, paperwork, something along those lines. There's again, the letter M potentially involved, and or the letter C. M and or C. And or H and I, depends how you look at it. I, H, C, and E. Positive messages, news, and information on the way. Good news. Use a trumpet. So there's good news on the way. This is all at the very start of this whole scenario. You have another grouping over here. Again, the letter E. Taking time out for your own self-care. Potentially the letter, no, not the letter, sorry. Potentially the astrological sign of Aries. So there could be someone who is either like Taurus or Aries that's involved, but definitely you taking time out for yourself. Absolutely. And there's good news regarding that. There's a little bit of money potentially maybe involved, but it's really you taking more time out for yourself regarding that situation. But it is harmoniousness. There's a heart there. So it is a good, loving scenario. Again, the letter I. If there is any feeling of discontent near to the start of this whole scenario, I really wouldn't maybe like focus on it too much or acknowledge it, obviously, but move on, if that makes sense. There may be a slight feeling of like, oh no, but it's not going to last really for long at all. That makes sense too. There's just so much in here. Oh my gosh. I would just say like, based on how much is in here, I would say like, just pace yourself and just remind, like as a client, I would say to you, just as a reminder, just to pace yourself, because there's just so much information. Keep yourself grounded, calm, aware, and just be very gentle with yourself and just like pace yourself, because there's a lot happening. And it's almost like a scenario where you go, because there's just a lot happening. Lots of messages, news, and information. Partnership ready to take place, partnership that is forming. And there's news are coming regarding that. Angelic help, which is really nice to see. Angelic help regarding a situation where there may be some travel, potentially foreign involved, and also the qualities of you going for it. Does that make sense? Like you going for whatever it is that you want to have.
Oh, the situation, I'm only still sitting on this earth right now asking this question because of angelic help. So
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This is wild.
Cool. If I ever sound like I'm not enthusiastic or not paying attention, that's because like I'm literally just trying to like.
No, you're fine, girl. I get it. Girl.
Objective in my mind as I'm looking at these leaves, because there's a lot of detail that's always involved. Thank you. Okay, let's see what else. There's so much. Okay. So there's that. Yeah. So there's. Okay, I'll say it one more time. Documents, lots of like paperwork. But it's you going for what you want to have. You going for it. You're not being afraid. You're totally going for it. There's angelic help regarding that, and likely there's some form of education, some form of knowledge. I'll just word it like that. There's some form of knowledge. Lots of protection. Happy faces. I'll say that one more time because I keep saying it. It's just in this one section. But like all through it, like you have two hearts in here right away, and they're very sizable. So I would say that whatever this whole event is referring to, it is loving and harmoniousness. You have those qualities present, which is just really nice to know. There's some kind of a partnership that this is referring to specifically, and it involves like someone who is a very helpful individual. Again, the paperwork thing, some money involved, and yeah, it's a partnership that's beginning to form. Yeah, I'll say that only one more time because I keep seeing references to partnerships.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense with the question I asked, so.
Good. Again, if there may be some moments where you're feeling a little bit discontented with things, but just know that they're very temporary. You have a little bunny in here too, so it's like creative project for me, creative projects, new beginnings. Now, whether that's referring to the time of Easter in the calendar that we currently use, that may be a.
That you said that like earlier.
I know. I'll put that in. I know.
You know the calendar we currently use? I'm like, the Matrix that we're currently. I just love that.
September is the 7th month, so
I would like snap that snapshot and use that as that because I just thought it was hysterical when you said that. Everybody watching out there knows exactly what.
October is the 8th month.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so strange. But okay, so it could be referencing Easter at that time. So everything that I have set up until now may be taking place between now and Easter. It may not be. I'm just saying that in case it makes sense to you. But there's definitely this feeling of like creativity, making new things, creative projects. And there's a finalization that's regarding that. And somehow there potentially be maybe a number 3 that's involved. And I say a lot of words like potentially or maybe because I'm saying that in case it may make sense to you later on at that time. Because like tea leaf reading, like one image can look like 10 different images. So
and time is fluid. Time is fluid. And guys, like the darkness is constantly trying to mess up the timelines. And so it's a war right now. And it kind of has to do with what I asked her. So I get that. Like it's not the time. And time is different in the quantum than it is here on Earth.
Absolutely. I mean, Mandela effects and time glitches and stuff, they're real.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, so moving down further in this area, again, if you're feeling discontented, it's not going to last long. I would say just keep your focus on where you want to keep your focus on and just keep going, really. It's looking good. There's a person, place, or thing with the letter J that is potentially involved. Excuse me. Sorry. I think your grandfather's still around. Or I'm just like generally like, congested. Okay, so go further. Yeah, again, the Cancerian connection, person, place, or thing, but who is that sign? And there's news. So there's at some point in time, right around here, there's some positive news that is coming into you regarding a Cancerian connection. So it's someone who is that sign, or it's those qualities of Cancerian that are present. So healing, nurturing, loving, protection. Really, good news at this point in time right here. You're getting 2 pieces of news, likely not to do with the homeland or family, but they're arriving. Okay, so I'm going to quickly go up and go back down. Okay, so go over here. Person, place, or thing, again with the letter M. There may be maybe a number 14, 1-4 that's involved in some way, shape, or form. I don't know if you're considering moving, but you may be considering moving in the next short while, or something to do with property. You may be thinking of moving. Another way to read this is that, again, you're taking time out for your own self-care. Yeah, and more research, learning. Again, protection, positive messages, news and information, reassurance, potentially some money coming. Again, the number 4 keeps coming up. Letter Y. So there's messages, news, and information coming about the letter Y. This may have a Scorpio connection, or this may be occurring. Yeah, I wouldn't say that this is time frame. Likely a Scorpio-like connection. So like a new beginning, regeneration of some sort, or someone who is that sign that's involved. Excuse me. Definitely new beginnings are present. Definitely new beginnings, new opportunities, helpful people that are involved. Again, notice I'm not reading for anyone else. I'm just saying that helpful people are present. Also someone who may be potentially maybe, sorry, hang on 1 second. Again, so again, Scorpio. Helpful people. I'll say that one more time.
Can I ask could one of these people be no longer in body?
Potentially. It's totally a possibility.
Because when you keep saying letter M and Scorpio, my mom's mom, there was very close to, and she died when I was 9, but she's been around me my whole life.
It absolutely could be saying that this is again tea leaf reading. This could totally be referring to the fact that she is helping you as the scenario evolves. Like
granddad on the other side.
100%. Going over slightly further over to the left. There's going to be one area of this whole event. There's just a little bit more things that need to be sorted out. A lot of conversations, a lot of discussions, a lot of thinking. this one portion of this whole event. That's going to be taking place in a little while, not too long. If I had to guess, a month or so, but there's a bit of time before that happens, but that's also just going to be taking place.
Oh yeah. Yeah, totally.
A lot of thinking, a lot of talking. Same. It's conclusions, new beginnings, a beautiful new beginning, an opportunity that arises from that. Again, I know you're doing a shadow work challenge, but there's taking time out for your own self-care, nurturing, healing, reading, learning. I keep seeing references to that, so I won't say it again, but I'm seeing like this is like the third time I'm seeing references to that. And when I say that, I mean like like I showed you in my videos, like someone's in a yoga position, someone's like looking at a book, someone is like.
No, that makes perfect. It's crazy because Sarah, I struggle with overworking. I have a lot of I call it the private school cult, and I think it's very very common for kids like me who grew up in like very intense educational backgrounds to be work so hard as a kid academically that I feel at this point in my life like I can't take time off. Like I work non-stop. Everybody in my life gets, that's not in my family gets it, but like my friends will get so mad at me. They're like, can't you just take the day off? And I'm like, no, but we have to work. I have to work. And so I've been thinking, in my own shadow work, I've been processing that a lot. Like, why do I have a hard time just like taking a day off? Why do I feel guilty when I take a day off? And it's going back to the wiring of being a private school kid and like the stress I was under in a young age academically.
Me too. I went to private school as well. I totally get what you're saying. It's interesting that you're saying that because I had the same thing. I still have the same thing. I'm like, I feel guilty if I'm not
working, producing.
Productive.
Yeah. It's the curse of the private school. Yeah. Yeah. It's totally like, and I've really been thinking about that a lot. So it's crazy. And I have not expressed that to anyone. Like this is something I've been thinking about in my head. I haven't really thought about it. It's not like it's a secret. I've been really thinking about it. Like, I've been watching all these Scientology videos of these Sea Org people coming out saying like, I feel like I constantly have to be working because we always work in the Sea Org. And I was like, well, riddle me that, Batman, because I went to a private school and I'm the same way. Like, I know that about myself. I can't, every time I take a vacation, I end up working because I feel guilty. And it's
guilty for not being productive.
All the bills are paid. There's money in the account. It's not like I just feel like I'm going to get in trouble if I'm not productive.
Yes, I'm the same.
Really? Girl, it's the private school. It's the private school. It's what it is. It's the like, okay, I'll give you, so like, I have this thing like my high school, and this is the guys, fuck college. College was a breeze compared to private school education. And early, we would have these things like if you were late, one bell would ring, and then 5 minutes later, the second bell would ring. And if you weren't in class by the second bell, you would have like massive points deducted over your overall average.
Wow.
So my campus was huge. And so like you would have one class over here and you'd literally see kids like running with their backpacks just to get to the class on time. And so my boyfriend, this was years ago, my boyfriend at the time was like so frustrated with me because I have the propensity to get places really early because I'm so traumatized by that.
Wow.
And so this is wild, guys, because I haven't said anything to anybody about this, but I know that it's an issue that I have. And like, so I've been like, I need to take time
being aware. Yeah.
That I have this propensity to like feel guilty if I'm not producing. And it has nothing to do with the content or what, it's like that just driven into me. And I think private school kids get that because it's very different. When the guys I've dated who went to public school have a very different relationship with work and play than I do. And I've noticed that a lot of private school kids are just like the Sea Org members from Scientology. Same. Like, so that's so you keep saying like, oh, this keeps coming up. And I'm like, no shit. Like, this is literally universe being like, okay, we're nudging you. This is part of my shadow work, is actually like getting rid of that pattern that I have where I think I'm a bad person if I'm not constantly working.
Interesting. Well, I keep seeing it. I've seen it like 3 times now. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not wild to drag up. I'll keep going here. Okay, Mom. Person thing, again, the letter Y is present. Letter F is present. This is regarding someone, again, who's a helpful individual who's present. Also the letter W. This is regarding someone who has the letter W in their name. And also at the beginning of this whole event or situation as well, there's definitely a sense of protection and also using your analytical mind. I meant to say that before, sorry. And also using your analytical mind and something to do with like researching, learning, or document of some kind. Okay, go further. Yeah, again, just some surprises also in the way with all of this. Like we're not supposed to know some things. Letter E, letter W. Helpful individual again. I keep seeing a lot of helpful people. Towards the end of the scenario, in the short term, fairly short term, there's a feeling happy, forward movement, not feeling inhibited, going for whatever it is that you want to have. Helping someone as well. Like there's a sense of helping someone. Again, property is coming up. Take that for what you will. And again, helpful people. Number 3. Number 3. Creative projects again. A lot of helpful people. I don't know. If you have planned a trip, this is showing up. You may be going on like a short-term trip. If you do, it's something that's sort of like more like a weekend away, or you're going into like the spa for the weekend or something. Not like a huge spiritual pilgrimage, but there may be like a short-term trip planned. More learning. I keep seeing documents. Okay. This whole event does lead into the base, so it does go on for quite some time. Again, there's a Cancerian connection, happiness regarding that specifically. But again, not a fair number of surprises. You're going to be having some surprises, but there's also abundance with this too. This leads to abundance. Person, place, or thing again with the letter F that's involved. Partnerships. Yeah, it's all good. You're happy. You're happy. Whatever this is referring to, it does look like, again, that there is forward movement and there's more creative projects, there's more beginnings and thinking of new ideas and getting things like sort of planned out that way. Like there's a lot of thought. There's some thought regarding a new opportunity that looks like it does take place. You have new opportunities being presented here. And it does look like you have multiple opportunities. There's one that is a conclusion, so something is concluding, but it does look like it is fairly sizable. So whatever this event is referring to, it does look like, well, it almost takes up half of your cup, more or less, at the base. So it is sizable. It's going to be continuing on for a little while, but it's going to be continuing rather to be a main area of your life. I guess you could word it like that too. Again, the letter W. And that is your very short tea leaf reading.
That's wild. I'll have to tell you on camera what I asked you, but I'll tell the audience a lot of it has in references. What I asked is also the question I asked psychically to tea leaves has a lot to do with why I've been so heavily attacked, and it all makes perfect sense to me.
Okay. Amazing.
So
not amazing, but thank you for confirming.
Yeah, and so Sarah, I'm going to be coming back to you for more readings because that was amazing. And what I was saying, so while you were doing that, Spirit was talking to me, and Spirit suggested, it's up to you because I knew we were going to do my reading and a general reading, but Spirit told me, we'll see how you resonate, that you should be coming back on my channel at the beginning of each month.
I'm happy to do that. That'd be great.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
So we can focus on just the general reading for the collective.
That would be fun. I would love to do that. That'd be amazing.
And actually, while I grabbed my planner, which I usually don't pull my planner out until after the episode is done and we do this off air, but maybe next Wednesday, you and I can sit down on February 1 and do a February reading for the collective.
That would be so amazing. I would love to do that. And that's also in bulk. That's like Bridget's Festival. I would love to do that.
Yes. Yeah, it is. Absolutely. That's one of the 8 whole high holidays. The real holidays.
Yes.
I love that. I literally am going to go Snapchat you saying that because that was like perfect. The way the calendar we're on. And then every first of the month, we'll just bring you back on and do a general reading.
I would love that. That'd be so amazing, and that would. Yes, I'm in. I would love to do that.
Okay, cool, awesome. I got usually, guys, I grab my planner. Usually that's what happens off screen. Usually, as we plan the next show. But that is amazing. That was crazy, Sarah. I can't wait to tell you more about the question I asked, because the document thing makes total sense to me. I am thinking about moving for sure, but the location I am thinking about moving to is very much in this vicinity. East Coast. So, yes. And, my granddad coming in has a lot to do with it. It's two of the initials that you mentioned. I'll tell you off camera, because that was wild. Wild. I'm telling you, wild, you guys. One of the descriptions that you actually gave of somebody that I specifically is involved in this, I was like, when you described the person, I was like, that's them.
Amazing.
And it's all going to be great. So, y'all, you should totally do this, you guys. I'm still like, and then my granddad's like 6'5", and like, he's like,
oh, wow. He wanted to come through. Like, it doesn't always happen, but sometimes like they do. And if spirit comes through to part of loved ones, if they come forward, it doesn't always happen. But if they do, they get precedence. They get priority because they're coming through. So he has gotten his way through. He died in 2017, I believe. Oh, wow. And I'm the oldest on that side of the family. I'm the oldest grandchild by a lot. My sister and I, my sister's 4 years younger than me, but then our cousins are like 10 years younger than us. And, wow. And so we had a lot of time just alone with my grandparents. And I think both of my dad's parents, my granddad had a near-death experience, so he was very spiritual in his own way. My grandmother was just like us. She was all into reincarnation, and she would have my grandmother, Mary Ann, would have been like dying to do stuff like this. She passed away a couple of years ago, but she's with Ed now. She's with my granddad now. But so I think there was like a kindred spirit between them. So the fact that he comes barreling through, and just not just with you, he's come through with Tamara. He's come through with all these other card readings I've done. Like, he just comes through, and I feel him around, like, really. And that's the thing I want to express to you guys too, that our souls are not just the time period of our bodies, and sometimes we have soul agreements. Some people will leave the earth in their body because part of their soul agreement is to protect you from the other side. Absolutely. Just because it's something that I say to my clients sometimes too. It's to me, there's a reason why stereotypical messages are stereotypical. Oh, your loved ones are coming through. Oh, so-and-so, they love you. They're around you. They're like, that's because in my experience, that's a lot of what they say a lot of the time is to the client that I'm reading for, or whomever I'm reading for. I love you. I'm proud of you. You're doing well. You're okay. I'm around you. It's a lot of the same messages because that's what they want you to know.
It's all going to be okay.
It's all going to be okay. You're not alone. I'm with you. I love you. I'm proud of you.
Yeah. And and you talked about, I will say this on the show. So last time I was down in Florida, which is, I'm in the same zone as Florida. It's not easy for us to go back and forth. I went to Clearwater to look at a lot of the Scientology buildings. Because my thought, and I was there, and I told Tamara this. I said, I don't know if I told her on camera or off camera. I was like looking at flag, and I was looking at the Fort Harrison, which is their Sea Organ. Granted, it would take a lot to clean this, to like sage it and like clean up all the bad stuff. But I was sitting there thinking these would be incredible centers for real healing.
Yes.
I kept thinking that, like. Because I don't think Scientology is going to be around much longer, but these buildings would be incredible. And I was thinking, oh my God, we could bring so many people in to the community, you yourself included, could come down and like have their own wing to like help people. There's a hotel there where people could stay. Of course, when everything flips, and like there could be different modalities of healing for people to come in and let's rotate through and really help people get stabilized spiritually into this new. And so when you're saying that about property, I was in documentations, I was like, I literally talked to Tamara about this. Like, I was like, this is kind of what I see. And when I was down there, I was like, it's a shame that the bad guys have this now, but this property can be used. It can be used for good.
Beautiful. I mean, I don't think I ever had seen footage or had seen what that Clearwater had looked like, but I did see your video. I'm like, it looked beautiful there.
Beautiful.
The building looked gorgeous.
One thing about Scientology is they kept that thing really clean and, really, but we would just come in like it would have to be. And I was thinking about all that. Well, then there's another side to the situation, which I will tell you afterwards. And I was like, okay, so there's literally what she was saying. She's talking about all these documents, both sides of the situation leading to the same hole, we're going to require a lot of paperwork.
Okay. Interesting.
The other side, which I won't say on camera what that is because, but it's going to take a lot. So that made sense to me when she said a lot of paperwork. So there's paperwork to end things, paperwork to begin things, paperwork to, right. So it makes sense that absolutely. And I said it connected to a past life. So the situation I was talking about in a past life, there had been healing centers involved as well. Beautiful. So even though I'm talking more about this life, because the only thing about past lives is just information that you've worked on, but I was like, wow. So I do think, and so anyway, but you guys, you absolutely, that was fucking awesome, girl. I'm going to be like coming to you like, and I'm going to be like, Sarah.
I'm just me. I'm just doing my best to do my best. I'm just me. It's all comes from the boss.
Yeah. But you're the one with the talent to do it. So, cause I love watching divinators work. I love it because every divinator gets so focused and they're working. It's amazing. So you guys absolutely, yes, go subscribe to Sarah's channel. We're going to get her back. And I'm going to say too, since Sarah's new to my channel and we'll have her actually today's a week from today. This is going to be airing on Thursday morning, but we're filming on Wednesday. Because you guys know I suck at doing live shows. I get too distracted by the comments. So I have to pre-record. So if you have any questions for Sarah that you want me to ask her in the next show, ask in the comment section below. Please. We'll cover that as well next show. And we'll get a look at on Wednesday on what's going to be happening in February
and see what's coming up. I would love to. So yes, if anyone has any questions, please just let me know. I'm happy to cover that. I don't read for anyone who we don't know. I don't read for anyone else. But if they have any questions, just let me know. We can take a peek and see what the leaves say. What God is saying to the leaves.
Sarah, do you do gift cards or can you do? Because I just was told to say to the audience, if you have somebody, I don't know, someone watching right now, this might be a message for you. If there's someone in your life who has a birthday coming up or an anniversary or something, and you're like, I don't know what the hell to get this person, this could be
absolutely. I can create gift certificates. I have in the past. So if they want to do that, just let me know and I can dig up my template and I can get them a Word document PDF thing. I can do that for sure.
Because I was just told to say that. So if that message was meant for whoever's watching right now, if there's someone in your life you're like, I don't know what to get them, or Valentine's Day.
Just send them off to the strange tea leaf reader up in Canada. It's fine.
Listen, I'm telling you, listen. This would be an incredible gift. Like if somebody gave me, I would be like, yes, so like, listen, all of us weirdos, we're over the matrix stuff. We want to talk to spirit. We want to understand. And so, and Sarah's obviously very talented. Again, please go subscribe to her channel, guys. This is just another way of reassurance because this is a very hard timeline to be living in. I know we laugh about it, but I am going to say, yes, I think Sarah and I both can say, sometimes as you say, sometimes you need to go take some time in the med tent, and sometimes like this is exhausting, and I want to validate that for anybody watching right now. It's fucking exhausting.
How many times have I said to Mom, Mom's like, she's not slept well, or I'm not slept well, or we're up to 3 o'clock in the morning, which is our usual bedtime because we can't sleep. Oh, what's the Schumann resonance doing? Oh, it's on a blackout. Oh, it's whited out. Oh, it's not doing a whole lot. So it's very difficult, and all the energy influxes that are happening, and you don't know why you're feeling that way. And then I reach out to one of my friends, and she's the same way. I'm like, "You lightheaded today? Are you dizzy?" She's like, "Yes." So there's just a lot of energy that's also coming in that we know of. We know the Schumann resonance. There's just a lot. The world is changing. Earth is changing. So much is changing, and we're all collectively going through our own things individually. We're picking up on different people. There's just so much happening that we know of, but so much more that we don't know. It's just such an emotionally charged time. That's the thing.
Yeah. In that tea reading, when you said there's things they won't tell us, we're not going to know yet, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I think that makes sense on the whole too, because the future we're walking into, obviously we've all ascended before, but we don't remember it. And so, there are things that they can't tell us right now.
No.
because our minds can't perceive it right now. And so spirit knows that it's okay to like pull some things back because it's not time yet. And so I just want to validate that from anybody that's going through. I know my boyfriend was up all night with a migraine. He ended up throwing up early this morning. I have some friends that were feeling really gross today. The veil is thinning. And so we are definitely, we're a victim of our own nature sometimes. And that's okay. It's totally okay to have those days and so, it's beautiful that we have people like Sarah that can tap into the divine so that we have that reassurance that nothing we're doing is in vain, that everything is a step in the right direction, even when it feels heavy. So,
and we all are, like, I know you've said it before and I've said it myself too. I think pretty much everyone is psychic. Everyone is a medium. It truly is a matter of awareness. And if you choose to pursue it, like anyone can become a TV reader. Like I did, and I didn't plan on it, and it just happened. So anyone can do this. Anyone can tap in, but sometimes it is nice to go to someone who you don't know because it is objective.
Exactly. Exactly. And I was smirking because I'm like, that's how God works, right? Like,
totally.
If you had told me as a kid that I was going to be traveling back and forth to India and do what I do, I'd be like, yeah, right.
Right. You couldn't make it up. You really can't make a lot of this. You couldn't. There's no way that you could comprehend it.
You had told me I was going to have a 5 years ago. If you told me I was going to have a YouTube channel, I'd been like, no, I'm not going to do a YouTube channel. And here I am. So, God's like, tee.
Me too. Like I was just like, I started my YouTube channel because I was like, I wanted to do it, but I always got the guidance, don't do it yet. It's not time. Just wait. And then eventually, like last year, I'm like, I have to do something. Okay, God, let's do it. And in case anyone's wondering, I always show the leaves because I'm like, you're just going to see me look into a cup. At least that way you can at least do something.
It's great. I love the way you do your videos because she takes a picture and then you kind of do a voiceover of what's happening. And it's genius, guys. You absolutely. And I will say too, like, I know for most of us on this side of light, it's not about the numbers of subscriptions we have, but I will say the thing that's important, guys, is that the more subscribers you have, the more YouTube is going to push your videos out there. And we want to be, especially for someone like Sarah, who's coming at this from a very gentle place with spirit coming through the tea leaves. People that aren't awake yet are going to start waking up, and they're going to be looking and searching for answers. And so we want these videos to be out there for our brothers and sisters who are still asleep. And we remember when you started waking up and you're like, what the fuck? So that they can find these videos and that they have that comfort. And so that is what's important. So when you subscribe to someone's channel, it's giving that channel a boost so that other people in this journey, like I said in the very beginning, if you go on other corners of the internet where like the drama channels, they're always fighting with each other and like trying to outdo each other. We're trying to walk together home and try to get everybody's, and we're trying very hard for those of us who are still on YouTube to stay on YouTube, because Rumble is an echo chamber. People asleep right now, and I have a Rumble channel for backup, but people who are asleep right now don't know that Rumble exists.
Exactly.
They only know YouTube. And so we have to keep people up on YouTube in order to then, I link some videos to my Rumble if they're potent. I'll link over to Rumble, but then people then discover Rumble, and then they can find the other content creators on our side who have been banned from YouTube, So
absolutely.
It's very important, guys, that we are constantly extending that olive branch out into the universe for those that are just starting to wake up, to have a safe place to fall.
Absolutely. That's sort of how I found your channel to start off with. It was because at that time, myself and a couple of friends, my mom, like, we're all looking for answers. Well, where do you go? You're not going to find it in certain places. You have to go find it in other places. And don't listen to the MSM. So you go to YouTube and you look up.
Had a big fucking orb just go through you, Sarah. I don't know. Yeah, it just went like right there in front of you. Yeah.
I don't have my glasses on, so I literally
when you
looking at the screen, everything's blurry.
I saw it. Hopefully people will be able to see on the playback, because sometimes when you film it looks different when you put it on YouTube, but I just saw a big fucking orb just go right over your forehead. So that's for you, girl. That's your people. That's your
Thank you. Maybe it's my fourth great grandfather, Dr. Joseph. I know, Brie. I know. Yeah, he's cool. I love him. He's Scottish. We know that he's from Scotland. And he was a doctor, and he's amazing, and I adore him. Maybe that's him. I don't know, but I love Dr. Joseph. I love him. He's cool.
My great grandfather's was a Dr. Joseph as well.
Oh wow!
And I share his birthday. Yeah, we wrote February 4th. So yeah. So my great grandfather, my grandfather's father, Dr. Joseph Brice. Yeah. So that's wild. All right, you guys. Well, Sarah, thank you so much. I'm so excited you're going to be coming back and doing this. This is brilliant. You guys go subscribe, like, do all the things. Check out her YouTube. Check out her website.
Everyone.
She's amazing. That I'm like, I can't wait. I'm dying to tell you more off camera because I can't.
Okay.
So, all right, you guys. So,
thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you so much.